let's dive into data generation. And Steve, you can fill in if I missed something on the previous topic.
No, I think that's great. Like Jeremy, or Jeffrey, I still run into customers that develop in production, which is terrifying. But fortunately, I think a lot of customers do have at least three environments where they can do stuff. We tend to promote an extra environment because we're data specialists. Even after the manual tests, we often want a environment between that production where we can kind of restore production or at least pull back schema and double check our deployments that they actually go smoothly. But in general, I agree with you with all that. So data generation is an interesting one. Now, I haven't used a lot of code-based generation tools. I've used ORMs a little bit. Jeffrey, I think you do some of that entity framework code first stuff. Is that a part of
Yeah, I
what?
really like for the integration tests in the continuous integration step for integration build. There's always these tests where we want to answer the question, even before we deploy this, will this code talk appropriately to a database schema with these tables? And those
Right,
tests are really small. The tables can be absolutely empty in order to run the test. It's just kind of schema validation or entity framework mapping validation. It's generate some data with a library or generate some objects filled with data,
right.
throw it at the database through entity framework, which does some insert statements, and then boom, you got a little bit of test
Yeah.
data.
Yeah. No, and I think that's good, right? And we went down that route a while ago with tool-based generation. So SQL Data Generator is one of our tools, and it allows you to generate uh, kind of custom configured data that would fit those tables. So, we can do list-based generation. So as you said, right, if I have a list of states, I can populate that out easily every time, or I could populate a list of statuses. But it does a lot of random generation too. So it can look at, excuse me, a database and go, well, these are numbers, these are strings, right? And do like these are names, do some guessing there and generate you lots of random data, which is good, but it doesn't always match what you're doing in production. It doesn't always match what your software needs to do. And sometimes uh, you're not getting good tests because you're testing a certain path of things and it's not related to what's in production. I think we see that all the time in code where people write unit tests that say, I'm testing this functionality. But actually in production, when we get a system together, we'll actually run that code slightly differently. And, the parameters will be different, right? This all comes down to data. As much as I appreciate you software developers, you do amazing work. Data kind of runs the world, right?
Yeah.
Everything you pass from, method to method is data, right? Everything that we're passing to and from a store is data, and that's important. So while this has been useful sometimes for just generating a lot of extra data to check load, it's not great necessarily for application testing. And I think on one of the earlier slides, you really highlighted that it's not just that we want quick releases, we want high quality code as well. And that's something I think gets lost in the agile DevOps space, that people, they get pressure to deliver something, they forget about quality. And data is critical for the quality of this stuff. Now we've seen some people go to synthetic based generation, which overall, as I've worked with some clients, it's not much better than this random generation because the AI tools don't always know what your workload looks like, what your schema is, for good reason, because we don't want to give them all that data. So it's not necessarily better.